Baby Einstein Company was born, and in just 5 years, her business grew to more than $20 million in sales. Julie Eigner Clark.
This is a billion-dollar industry that is a complete and total scam. There's no evidence that a baby watching a DVD is learning anything.
Educational videos aimed at babies may not be such a bright idea after all. A new study found that children who watch popular DVDs like Baby Einstein and Brainy Baby actually have poorer vocabularies. One researcher even said she'd rather have babies watch American Idol.
The American Academy of Pediatrics has now for 7 years recommended that there be no screen media use for children under the age of 2. And this is for some very specific reasons. First of all, there is no solid scientific research evidence that children under the age of 30 months or 2.5 years can learn anything from an electronic screen. A lot of media early may in fact change the way the brain develops.
3 new studies out tonight are the latest to suggest that heavy television watching can hurt children's ability to learn.
The more television infants and toddlers watch, the greater the chance they'll have trouble paying attention and concentrating during their very early school years.
Researchers say hours spent in front of the TV only trains the brain to watch more TV. A child weaned on bright colors and rapidly changing images will find it tough to focus on a TV.
I think the thing that upsets me the most is that it's not just products that are being marketed to children, but values. And the primary value that's being sold to kids over and over and over again is a value that things or stuff or brands will make us happy.
Corporate marketers have actually studied the whole nagging phenomenon, which corporations do nagging better, and they provide advice to corporations about, what kinds of tantrums work better.
Children sometimes say, can I, as much as 9 times.
Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? No. Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? No. Will you take us to Mount Splashmore?
No. And part of the nag factor is designed to help maximize the number of times children will keep asking and keep asking.
No! Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? Will you take us to Mount Splashmore?
If I take you, will you two shut up and quit bugging me?
Yeah, of course. Well, will you take us to Mount Splashmore?
Yes!
Thanks, Dad.
So, these kids have a lot of power in the economy. The advertisers know it, and they are going after them in a way that is unprecedented.
It's the place where I want to be.
This generation of children is marketed to as never before. Kids are being marketed to through brand licensing, through product placement, marketing in schools, through stealth marketing, through viral marketing. There's DVDs, there's video games, there's the internet, there are iPods, there are cell phones. There are so many more ways of reaching children so that there's a brand in front of a child's face every moment of every day.
What we have is the rise of 360-degree immersive marketing, where they try and get around the child at every aspect, at every avenue.
Great game. Kids are inundated with this. They are buried in this media blitz.
Kids are now multitasking with media.
Hello? Hey girl, what's up? No way.
Babe, plug in your iPod or MP3 player.
Yeah, new music.
They are using more than one medium at the same time. So they're surfing the web, and the television's going with MTV, and they've got the iPod with one earbud in, and they are more vulnerable and are bombarded with over 3,000 commercial messages every day.
Marketers know these are little sponges.
It's part of this by any means necessary. I mean, we've got to get to the kid. We've got to make sure that that child is indoctrinated as a consumer cadet, so therefore we've got to get to them in ways that maybe they don't even know.
Most would say that the idea of using actors to trick the public for political purposes is preposterous. But then again, most people are unaware of a declassified CIA program called Operation Mockingbird, which is solid, undeniable proof that our government is very much interested in using the media for trickery and deception. Here's a short clip from those congressional hearings.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI.
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Senator, do you think that you named the news organizations in your final report?
That remains to be decided.
I think it was entirely in order for our correspondents at that time to make use of CIA agent chiefs of station and other members of the executive staff of CIA as sources of information which were useful in their assessments of world conditions.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
In 1948, there was a law passed so that our government couldn't use propaganda against its own citizens. In May 2012, 7 months before Sandy Hook, a Texan Republican introduced an act called H.R. 5736 Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, which was an amendment to the 1948 bill, making it legal for the government to disseminate their own propaganda in America using the press, publications, the radio, motion picture films, the internet, and social media, while also giving themselves the power to put any propaganda they want directly into the archives, no questions asked. Which means their lies and time will officially become history. We all know we've been already receiving propaganda through film and the mainstream media for decades, so you have to wonder what level they intend on taking it with this bill.
The so-called witness and student by the name of Blair Stokes, whose tweets and testimony was featured all over the media, with odd and awkward interview as always, as they always are in these stories, who was joyful, of course, in her interview with duping delight and smiling up a storm, as it turns out, works in the media.
Did you really think that these tweets could have effectively been your last words?
At the time, honestly, I was thinking anything. I was thinking that a book could possibly protect me.
That's right. Now listen, specifically a powerful behavioral change marketing firm called Salter Mitchell. Let me say that again. Behavioral change marketing firm, which is basically an Edward Bernays public relations brainwash type firm. That's right, Propaganda 101, Mind Control and Manipulation 101, which specializes in crisis communication. Crisis communication. You seriously cannot make this shit up. To use witnesses who just laugh it up, do a horrible acting job, display obvious duping delight, and have their background be so obvious and blatant. So let that all sink in. And as you let that sink in, I want to go ahead and remind you viewers who may be new to this what duping delight is and how to spot these actors and liars that are used on a daily and weekly basis in these staged events and on the corporate mass media.
Now, we've talked a little bit about how to talk to someone who's lying and how to spot a lie. And as I promised, we're now going to look at what the truth looks like. And I'm going to show you two videos. Two mothers. One is lying, one is telling the truth. And these were surfaced by researcher David Matsumoto in California. And I think they're an excellent example of what the truth looks like. This mother, Diane Downs, shot her kids at close range, drove them to the hospital while they bled all over the car, claimed a scraggy-haired stranger did it. And you'll see when you see the video, she can't even pretend to be an agonizing mother. What you want to look for here is an incredible discrepancy between horrific events that she describes and her very, very cool demeanor. And if you look closely, you'll see duping delight throughout this video.
But at night, when I close my eyes, I can see Christy reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
why don't we start, if you would, tell us about Christopher. I see you have his picture there. I know you're going through a grieving process. I know you're going through a grieving process. I know you're going through a grieving process.
But I was a little skeptical of my own skepticism, and I got up and I texted my parents, I texted, but I was a little skeptical of my own skepticism. I didn't really know what to do. I was confused, and even if we had gone through a sort of drill, I'm pretty sure that would have gone out of my mind immediately because I was terrified.
Oh, fake shooting?
So you see, folks, this lying fraud is not just anybody and some random student. She is just an actor playing her role in another fake shooting. End of story, case closed.
In consumer news, economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year. Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year. Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year. Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year. Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step.
Can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
The final days of the campaign can get a little salty.
If your email inbox is out of control and you've given up sorting it out, a Baltimore company thinks it has a solution for you. Could this be the end of email overload?
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 Could this be the end of email overload? Could this be the end of email overload? Could this be the end of email overload?
Thank you all. Terrorism, terror, terrorist, terror organization, terrorist attacks, terrorism, terrorist network, terrorist attacks, terrorist group, terrorists, terrorists, instruments of terror, a terror network, terror cells, terrorists, terrorizing terror and murder, terrorism, terrorists, or terrorist, tool of terror and torture. Third time I've said that. I'll probably say it 3 more times. See, in my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
But here you have the Johnny Appleseed of terrorism wandering the country with his little sack of anthrax.
Anthrax,
bacterium. Anthrax bacterium.
Anthrax investigation. Anthrax investigation.
Anthrax exposure.
Anthrax exposure. Anthrax test. Anthrax test. With anthrax scares.
Anthrax scares.
Anthrax spores. Anthrax spores. Anthrax strains. Anthrax strains.
For the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the facts on Ebola. It'll take just 3 minutes.
Ebola.
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 Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola strain.
What causes Ebola?
Growing Ebola fear spreads around the country.
There are fears the outbreak will continue to spread.
Americans panicked over a possible Ebola outbreak.
Fear and panic over a possible Ebola outbreak. Ebola outbreak. Growing fears about Ebola.
Tested for Ebola. Cure for Ebola.
Die from Ebola.
Cure for Ebola.
Die